Today I'd like to talk to you about ImageMagic, which is our solution for building and maintaining hardware-independent images. Now we can see the tool in front of us here with the 6 buttons at the bottom. And all aspects of the application can be controlled from these 6 buttons. The idea is that the first 4 buttons, namely Images, Target Systems, Apps and Scripts, and Recipes, allow us to build up all the content that could potentially make up the final image. While the 5th button, Deployments, allows us to bring all that content together and build the final image. The 6th button, Settings, allows us to configure various aspects of the application. Now let's dig in a little bit more detail. Let's have a look at the Images section. And we can see a list of all the base images that have been defined in the system already. Now we can manipulate this list in various ways. We can filter the list by typing in the search box. Or we can sort the list by various properties. And on the right hand side we maintain a recently used items list of all the images you've accessed most recently. Now notice these 2 buttons at the bottom, Create VM and Connect to VM. So what we're actually going to do here is once we've entered the data to define the base image, we will create a virtual machine based on those settings. We'll then be able to connect to that virtual machine, customize it, install applications on it, all from within the confines of the ImageMagic tool. There'll be no need to step outside and go and access other systems or run scripts elsewhere. There's a single integrated workflow that will allow us to do everything we need, all from within the tool. So let's have a look at how we build up an image. So here's the data entry screen for a base image. At the bottom the tool is telling us which required fields we have to fill out. So let's give the image a name and a description. And we choose the operating system type. Now notice here we support Windows XP, Vista and 7. We support all their server variants and we support their 32 and 64-bit variants as well. Now moving on to the source section, where are we actually going to get this operating system from? Well, if we select media, we could then hit the browse button and the tool would ask us to browse to an operating system ISO. In this case, we would then create an answer file and we perform a silent install of the operating system, and that would give us a nice clean virtual machine. So that's one option. However, if you've already made an investment in imaging, if you already have a library of images, you don't want to just throw them away. That'd be a waste of time and money. So we have the ability to take your existing images, be they physical or be they virtual, and import them into our system. So in the case of an existing physical image, we'd be able to take that image, perform a physical to virtual conversion on it, and create a new virtual machine based on your existing image. So let's go ahead and do that. If I hit browse, the tool asks me to find a WIM, and I have an XP WIM here. So what will happen now is that the tool will take that image, clean out the legacy hardware profile, install the correct drivers for the virtual environment, and give us a virtual machine that we can use. So if we move on to the Details tab, we're asked for some details about the image, so we'll enter the product key. And the registered user and organization. Notice the partition section here. This gives us the ability to define the disk geometry for our virtual machine. So this can be as simple or as complex as you like. You can define as many partitions as you want. For the purposes of the demo, I'll create one single partition, make it 30 gig in size. and this is the partition I'm going to drop the operating system onto. So there's our single partition. So that's all the data we actually have to enter to define our base image. So if we hit save, and there's our new base image. Now, notice that the Create VM button is active, so let's click that. And the tool will spin up a list of tasks and create the virtual machine for us. Now, what the tool is doing now is creating a virtual disk for the VM based on the disk geometry information we've already supplied. So if you remember, we created a single partition of 30 gig in size. So that's what the tool is doing now. It's created that partition and now it's formatting it. And once it's successfully formatted the disk, it's going to take the image, the WIM we specified, and apply it to that virtual disk. Now while it does that, let's have a quick look at the settings section. Because I've been talking about creating a virtual machine, but what sort of virtual machine? Well, you can see here we support a wide variety of virtual vendors. We support all the Microsoft offerings, VMware, Citrix. So if you already have a virtual infrastructure, then we will quite happily connect to that. And whichever vendor you use, you'll get the same consistent integrated experience with our tool. The same also applies to the database that the tool uses to store its settings. By default, the tool ships with a desktop database, but if you have an existing data infrastructure, be that SQL Server or Oracle, then we'll happily connect to that as well. So if we return to the Images section, you can see the image application is progressing. So that's completed. Now if we zoom out, we see the Connect to VM button is active now. So if we click that, then the tool will spin up another window and allow us to connect to the virtual machine. And once it's powered up, we can log in. Now at this point it's worth having a look at the device manager. And you can see that there are no bangs here. All the hardware is working correctly. So this shows that we have in fact cleaned out the legacy hardware profile and installed the correct new virtual drivers. So we have this virtual machine now, and you can manipulate this as you wish. You can customize it as you want. If you want to install applications on this, then we have the ability to mount an ISO and do it that way. Now, as we're showing here. And so you can customize your base image as you like. And once you're finished, you hit power off, then those changes are committed to the virtual machine. So let's summarize what we've seen thus far. We've seen it's fairly simple to create a virtual machine that acts as our base image. We're then able to connect to and manipulate that virtual machine, all within the tool. We've also seen that we're able to maintain your investment in imaging. If you have an existing image, then we can take that image and import it into the tool. So now we'll move on and have a look at the rest of the application.